In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Today is the fourth Sunday of the blessed month of Tuba, and the church prepared for us the passage from St. John talking about healing the man who was born blind. And the month of Tuba talks about baptism in general. But today I'm going to talk about Christ as a true light. Christ as a true light in a very unique way. We know the story was a born blind man. Jesus and his disciples were passing by, and then the disciples asked Jesus why did this happen to this man? And Christ explained to them, and he made the miracles, opened his eyes on a Saturday, and then a conflict happened with the Pharisees and the Jews, and they were not happy that he made a miracle on a Saturday since it was not a life-threatening situation, so he basically broke the Sabbath. It was a little bit of, as we heard, very conflicting situation. But I'd like to focus on two verses. The question that the disciples asked Christ, they asked, "Teacher, who sinned, this man or his parent, that he was born blind?" This is the question. And honestly, it's a very tempting question to ask sometimes. Why is always a question that's very tempting to ask? Because we need to know. We need to know the reason why. So why is always a very tempting question to ask? But there is a problem in this question. Actually, it's a very strange problem. A question that starts with a why and questioning the past is a very tough question because it will lead us to dig in the past, to search in the past, try to find the reason and try to justify the presence. And in that process, we lose the sight of a hopeful future. This is a very tricky situation sometimes we fall for. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? It's good to question because we need to learn from our own mistakes. It's not good to dwell in the past too much that we forget the present and not be aware of the future. This is one of the situations where Christ answered them a straightforward answer. He told them, "Neither this man nor his parents have sinned, but that the work of God should be revealed in him." Okay, so this problem that the man is going through, like he is blind not because he sinned, not because his parents sinned. By the way, that was a misconception in the Old Testament that the kids will carry the father's sin. That's not what God meant when he said, "I will search in the sins of the fathers in the son, of the fathers in the sons, till the third and fourth generation." He meant if the sin is continuing, then they will face the same consequences that their fathers faced. But what they're saying basically here is that they still believe that the sins of the fathers are inherited by the sons, which was not the case here. So Christ explained to them, he told them, neither this man or his parents have sinned. Neither him or his parents sinned, but for the works of God that it be manifested in him or revealed in him. So for those who like to ask questions and like to have a rich discussion, we see this a lot with high school and sometimes with middle school too. So someone asked this question. So you're telling me that he did not sin or his parents, but for the works of God to be revealed in him. That's what Christ answered, right? Yes, that's the answer. And then the question comes, so you're telling me that Christ staged the whole situation for himself to come and perform a miracle and to do what exactly? To reveal his words or his works in this man, to put this man in misery so his works be manifested in him. Again, this kind of approach is very limited and very unaware of the full picture. Christ does not put anyone in misery. And if he allows tough situations to happen to us, it's because he wants to teach us something through. You know, for the students who have a lot to study and so little time to study the amount of whatever they have to study, sometimes they take off their sleep time. They sleep less so they can study more and they accomplish. And I heard this many times of you guys saying, I pulled an overnight, right? I stayed up all night to study and so I'm ready for the test. I've heard it many times. Why do you have to do this to yourself? Why do you have to go through this misery of not sleeping and going on such a very thin hours of sleep? Because I wanted to accomplish something. So it's okay if you do it for yourself, but it's not okay for your father to do it for you. I tell you something, for babies, since I'm currently experiencing this, babies, the younger ones, you have to put them on a feeding schedule. You can't just, every time they cry, you just put the bottle in their mouth or give them milk. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to put them in a feeding schedule. Otherwise, they will be all over the place, right? Same thing, we let them cry for a little bit. They have to go through that experience to learn. Now, I'm not letting them go into misery. I'm trying to teach them something. With the same concept, God allowed this to happen to this born blind man. Because I know a lot of trends among the high school now and among even middle school to question why God is doing certain things and to look at them in a very negative way. Again, if you question anything, question it with the purpose to learn from it for your future, not to just find a reason why. For just the knowledge itself, it will not be helpful to you unless you put it in action. That's why we say the question about why did this happen, if you don't learn from it to the future, then it's a very pointless question. So the question comes now, Christ allowed this whole thing to happen for his works to be manifested in this man. The second question comes, like, okay, are we puppets then? Apparently this man didn't have a saying in what Christ planned for him. Again, that falls under the same thing. We're not puppets. We are not puppets. We have our own free will. But sometimes from the Father's responsibility, he has to do certain things to us. Same thing when you take your kids to the doctor to give them the shots. It's a very painful process. It is very painful. And if you have a choice, you will say, no, I don't want to take it. I don't want to do this. But it's very vital to us. Without these shots, we'll face a lot of problems. Some people might die. Same thing here. God allows certain things to happen to us for him to work through these things. Now, these things might be a tough situation, a disability, a disease, whatever you guys call it. I don't like the word disability. I don't like it. It makes you feel like you're missing something. However, if you look at disability as a chance to abandon your own strength for God to work through you, you will actually love your own disability. You will love this shortage, this inability inside of you to do certain things, because God can actually work now inside of you. I'll give you a few examples and then we'll wrap it off. If Zacchaeus was tall, Zacchaeus, the tax collector, the chief tax collector, if he was a tall guy, you know he was short, right? He was very short. If he was a tall guy, would he climb the sycamore tree? No. So he was short and he wanted to see Christ, but he couldn't because he's very short. So he climbed a tree and just wanted to have a higher view so he can see Christ. And because he did this, Christ told him, come down, I'm going to stay in your house today. And salvation happened to him because of his disability. Let me rephrase. Because he did not accept this disability and he did something about it. Through what we think is a disability, Christ was able to reach him. Another example, in the book of Job, he was, we all know his story. Rich man, punished severely by God, and then left among ashes just to cry on his situation. And then God raised him back to his place before this trial. Before and after, Job said, before this trial, I've heard about you. I just heard about you with ears. But after this trial, I have seen you with my own eyes. So if it wasn't for this tough time, Job would not have this experience that changed his life. God allowed tough times to happen, diseases, illnesses, disabilities, or even death to our close family members. He allows this to happen for us not to cry so hard on the past, but to look with a hopeful sight to the future and try to find the true light. Because sometimes we think we live in light, but yeah, maybe a very little bit of it. But we need to see the true light. Like this born blind man, if he was not born blind, Christ would not have opened his eyes. He would not have actually experienced the true light of Christ. To whom is glory forever and ever. Amen.